So would you say if everyone has a role and if they're a troll?
Yeah, everyone has a role to play in this thing called life, this game of life. And, if you want to be a troll, then that's your role. If you want to be negative, then that's your role. So, if you want to change, change comes with a changed mind. So, I ignore all of those negative things
Mm,
because they're doing nothing more than playing their role.
yeah. It's really about you because they come at you every minute. We're always being challenged. And we know that as Christians, we know there are so many things coming at us and it's really up to you, but it starts here and then here in your chest, right?
That's
So
right.
yeah, so it's pretty awesome. I'm so thankful that you were able to join us today. So if you're just tuning in, my name is Melanie. Welcome to the Probate Nurse Podcast, our weekly show that we're doing with local people that work in the senior community. And today's guest is Stephanie Hopkins. She is the probate title agent, and she's located here in the south portion of Tampa. So welcome to the show, Stephanie. How are you?
I'm well, Melanie. Thank you so much for the invite. I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're so excited to have you here today because as you and I both know, probate is it's tough. People don't really understand probate. They don't understand what it really is truly all about, but mostly they don't really understand how to avoid it. And so you wear multiple hats. Yeah, so just so that everyone understands who Stephanie is, we're just going to go ahead and tell you a little bit of information that I pulled from her LinkedIn bio. And she actually helps homeowners analyze and leverage data so they can drive a 70% increase in generational wealth accumulation. She's also a best-selling author and a polymath serial entrepreneur, which I want to hear more about that, and a speaker. She is located in the south portion of Tampa. So welcome. She basically has claimed that she is the innovator of a groundbreaking service, a first of its kind minority-owned title agency that specializes in tax deed and probate closings. And it offers estate planning and title clearing education to our communities. That's amazing. That's amazing. Can't wait to dive into this. All right. So tell us a little bit first about your background, what your history is of work and how you segued into this probate title work.
All right. Well, before I became a title agent, I have worked over two decades in the insurance industry. And it's so funny because my goal as a kid was to either be a nurse or an attorney. But what I've learned is throughout my life and my work journey, I've actually touched on both studies and married them together to arrive at where I am today. I hold a bachelor's in healthcare administration.
Mhm.
That was really a great foundation to have, especially dealing with the clientele, because we touched on social and adult psychology, risk and conflict management, as well as death and dying. So I was actually being prepped for where I am today and did not know it.
100%. And nothing's coincidence in this business. Everybody has a story about why they got involved in probates and estate planning and helping our senior people in our community. So what inspired you to transition then into the probate title work and estate planning, particularly focusing on serving minority communities? What was that like for you?
Yeah, so as I stated before, I've spent, 2 decades in the insurance industry in various sectors, lastly being a claims adjuster for a non-standard company. So being a claims adjuster is very tough and it takes um,
Mhm.
a certain type of individual. We're not just paying claims, we're actually investigating them.
Okay.
So with that, I got a little burned out trying to
Mm,
um, do work and have a family as well.
sure.
So I left the corporate arena, got tired of being fed that fallacy that, you can be great. But there's always some type of limitations in regards to that from that that industry, right?
Mhm.
So
Oh,
with
sure.
that, yes. So with that, I started a notary business once I left the corporate arena, and after that, um, I contracted COVID and nearly lost my life, and
Okay.
yeah, and COVID provoked my purpose.
Hmm.
Uh, what a way to get provoked, right? You're
So many
laying
people were at that time, it really made us stop and look at ourselves and what our
absolutely,
missions and purposes really truly are.
absolutely, and that's
Yeah.
what it did. Lying in that hospital bed, clinging on for your life and in
Mhm.
isolation.
Yeah.
There's no one can come and see you.
Mhm.
You have nothing but time on your hands. And I was like, Lord, if you can get me out of this, I will do whatever it is that you want me to do. So,
True.
right. So, with that, I got out. I had home health care and oxygen therapy. It took me 6 months to
Mm.
recover.
So you had
And
long COVID, long
yes,
COVID. Yeah.
yes, I have long COVID. That's what my
Hmm.
voice is now. It's I had a lot of time to really take a look at my life,
Hmm.
and realize that the Lord had been trying to give me an eviction notice, for myself, so I can do
Mm.
greater things for others. And
Yeah.
um, and I paid attention this time. And then from there, I had an exclusive client who I did notarizations for, a title agent who saw my skill set and said, "Hey, you will be a great title agent." And I said, "Oh, okay," and she sponsored the whole process, and I became a title agent.
Totally different,
Yeah,
completely
totally.
new.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, you are doing probate title work. How is that different from doing regular title work? What few things could actually pop up in there?
Yeah, so um, title is title for the most part. However, it's your clientele. So, and you have title agents that specialize in construction, so it has its own language,
Mm,
and I specialize in probate, and it has its own language.
okay. Got it.
So even though the product itself at base is the same, but the clientele is different, and what's required to transfer title is definitely different. One side of title is more transactional.
Mm,
My side is more relational. And I get
yeah.
to use my empathy superpower throughout the whole client experience.
And that is so needed in this type of business with this type of clientele. They're really coming out of something that's been traumatizing, and we don't really know how long they've been, on this journey. It could be just a week, a month, it could be a year, I mean, there's all kinds of different things going on with them. And empathy and compassion and integrity is so huge in this
Absolutely.
business. It's a different kind of work that you do. And I do believe that you were chosen to do it. I really do. Your
Thank you.
purpose
It
was
is.
revealed.
Thank you, because
Yeah.
it is. It's very different and niched. People are like, well, Stephanie, I've never heard of a probate title agent. I said, well, now you have. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
attorneys do different things, right? Some
Yeah.
specialize in real estate and
Huh?
estate planning. So why can't a title agent specialize in probate? You have some that
Hmm.
specialize in construction or
Right.
just doing new homes. So I just carved out my own niche by
Mhm.
being obedient.
I think it's amazing too. And we know here in Florida specifically where we are, it's so needed. It is just so needed. Um, we have just so many baby boomers aging out and, families that live out of state. So it's great to have somebody with that knowledge and background that can see the situation, and title. So yeah, it's definitely commendable. And the other thing that you do too is you like to create and build generational wealth for your clients.
Yes.
So it's very unique. You do wear a lot of hats. So you do talk a lot about that. Can you explain your services and how they assist the BIPOC homeowners in increasing generational wealth? And you're saying by an accumulation of about 70%. First of all, tell me, what is the BIPOC, BIPOC? What does that stand for?
Yeah, so BIPOC is for the Black Indigenous people of color. And the 70% actually comes from, and that's the last year's statistics of
Mm.
African Americans who did not have a will. So with that,
Mm.
mhm,
Wow. Okay, that's high.
yes, it's extremely high. And for the Hispanic community, it's even higher. It's 82%. So what I do is take the big data that's being talked about in the industry and bring it to the forefront because there are a lot
Mm.
of distractions in the world, and I pinpoint um, that particular information and I bring it to the forefront onto them and bring it to a realization of the importance of it. And
Sure.
I always tell them that, when we're born with our future selves and that we're born into risk. So with that, we have to protect ourselves, between the birth date and that dash. And
Yes.
what does that look like? We
Mm.
have families, and we have families because we are um, being fruitful, right, and becoming many. So we understand the accumulation part,
Mhm.
but we don't understand the generation to generation of passing.
Sure. Sure.
So I saw that there was a disconnect between accumulation and the protection and generational wealth.
Mm.
So my thought process, as I always tell them, if I can think like you think, then I can have what you have.
Yeah.
So look at, the Rockefellers, or look at
Mhm.
Walmart and McDonald's and Burger King and all of these places and think, well,
Mhm.
how are they able to last so long? What is it that they're
Hmm.
doing to last generations and to
Sure.
generations? And it's because they have a succession plan.
So many people don't even understand what that means. They
That's right.
don't.
So,
They
yeah.
don't. So with
So
that, then how do you actually bring that, into the community then? So are you doing events? How does that work? How do you actually get them on board with the educational process?
yes, ma'am. So I do host community events, and hopefully I have one planned either for August or November of this year. I'm gathering now sponsors and partnerships to host a will
Nice.
clinic. Mhm.
That's really
I have
nice.
Thanks. I have also spoken a couple of times at the City of Tampa first time homebuyer programs. And I have also spoken at an event hosted by Bank of America as well. So wherever there's a community event and I'm able to speak, then that's what I do to get the
There you
message.
are. There you
Yeah.
are. Yeah, I mean, it's so important in all those various topics too, whether it's estate planning or generational wealth. I mean, it really is so important to educate people. And I did not know that those statistics were quite that high for minorities. I think 70% and 82. I had no idea. I had no
Yeah.
idea. What do you think one of the reasons why that is? I mean, is it a fear factor? They just don't know? Is it a cost thing? Like, what do you think it really is?
I think it's a little bit of all three.
Mm.
I think it's a fear factor as far as like a taboo. But that's the
Sure.
reason why I let them know that, hey, when we're born with our future selves. So that gets them to thinking like, you know what, she's absolutely right. So with that, we have to learn to embrace death and dance with it, minimize our risks, right? So
Sure.
we can get longevity out of it. With all things, we gain an understanding, right? So um, we only gravitate towards things of interest. So if we don't find it interesting, then we won't, gravitate towards it. So
Mhm.
that's the reason why we have to bring it to them and
Yes.
explain the
Mhm.
importance so they can understand, have knowledge and to understand it, because knowledge and understanding are two different things.
No, it really truly is. And, it's no coincidence that we end up doing what we do. Myself, I had three losses in succession, my mom, then my brother, then my father, and venturing through that and watching somebody, my mom and dad had all of their estate planning completed. So it was relatively simple, which was wonderful because you're so traumatized as you're going through this. And my brother's estate wasn't completely done. And, as he was sitting in the emergency room, he was very, very ill. We got a ladybird deed for him. So that's what we could do for him at that point. So that's why I've taken on this role, is not only a realtor and a senior transition person, but to really just educate people about the benefits of having that estate plan in place and really understanding that how beneficial it is to you, to not only, your surviving spouse or your children, but to just really, just protect your assets and your wealth so that you ensure it goes to the right individual, to the right heir. Can't stress that enough.
Absolutely. I
Huge.
concur. I concur. As I stated to you before, I've
Mhm.
lost a child, two siblings, and both of
Mhm.
my parents. So my brothers did not have estate plans in place. So
Mm.
it's different. I set
Mhm.
my parents up with their estate plans, but to handle someone's estate when they don't have um, a will is different and
Sure
um,
is.
cumbersome.
Mhm.
But because I've done it before, you know, uh,
Yeah.
it was a little bit more seamless, but it was still cumbersome. So when you're dealing with the family that doesn't understand the process,
Mm.
that's that's
Yes.
challenging.
Oh yeah.
Um, you're you're not trying to take anything away. It's just the laws of the land, and that's what you have to follow in this process. So
Mm.
to make it seamless, set up your estate plan, make your will be a genie and come alive after you pass and speak your
Right.
truth, right? It keeps all the guesswork out of things. It's in black and white. Your intentions are left for anyone who picks up that paper, to read and say, Miss Hands wanted this to go to this person, to this
Mm.
person. It leaves out all the family drama. It
Ah,
speeds up the process,
sure.
and people can grieve appropriately because grief is,
Mm.
oh my gosh, it's paralyzing.
Paralyzing. And it does save money too on the other end because all the time you're going to spend in court and petitioning and this and that and I wanted that ring, I wanted that couch, and I have encountered that so much, and it's just incredible, how much animosity and chaos can come from the loss of somebody and not having everything secured and knowing who it rightfully goes to. Uh, Boy, it can cause sibling disorders. I mean, emotional distress, trauma, loss of money, loss of job. You might become estranged from a family member or a distant cousin. So yeah, it's really so beneficial to get
It
this
really,
done. I
really
can't
is.
state it enough. So I really cannot state it enough. So on to the next things. What are some common misconceptions or challenges that you encounter when discussing estate planning, particularly with the minority communities?
That's a good question. So the things that I
Loaded.
have, so the things that I have encountered on a constant basis, and this um, triggers the importance of education, is that everything automatically transferred to the eldest child.
Okay.
there is nothing that is automatic unless you make it automatic.
Got it.
And especially when it comes to property. So that is called tangled title. And
Yep, we know that one.
yes.
Explain that a
So
little
yeah, so tangled title is where the loved one passes, they're the sole owner of the property, and there is no one else there to pick up the slack of the home. Their name is not on the deed. The deed shows ownership. So with that, it causes conflict.
bit.
So a loved one could be living in the house and they're like, hey, this is my house because I live here. They've spent thousands of dollars in beautifications and repairing it. But at the end of the day, that is not your house. Legally, it is not your house.
True.
Now, people think with title, title is the concept of the legal ownership of the house because it says that it will provide, coverage to the owner of the house and their heirs, but that's much different than the deed. So we can't use that interchangeably. It's two different things. So when you have a tangled title, the only thing that you can do at this point is to go to court, is to open an estate. And at this point, since your loved one did not leave a will to outline what their wishes were, now the state of Florida or whatever state that you're in has a will for you, and it goes by the hierarchy at that point. So that's where people come out in the woodworks that will all be considered for your estate, as well as, it opens it up to creditors and things of that nature. So yeah, it causes a lot. It opens up that Pandora box.
Oh, it sure does. It sure does. And, we are located here in Florida. So is there a difference from state to state about estate planning and probate and things like that? Or is it all the same across the board?
Well, the bases are the same for what I have seen across the board, but there are little nuances that are different in each state, but the basis is still the same.
Yeah, got it. If you have to go to court, you have to go to court.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you share some insights into how proper estate planning can impact generational wealth? Or just dive a little bit deeper. I know we talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, no worries. So yes, one thing in the BIPOC community we have trouble with is raising capital, right? So if you have property that you own free and clear, and if it is set up correctly in an estate plan, then voila, you have your own capital because of the equity that is in the home. And that is the difference between what the house was purchased for and what it is valued at this moment in time. So when we don't have an estate plan and we live in a house, then we're living in dead capital at that point. We can't access it. So all of our problems could be resolved if we could tap into to the equity of that home.
One thing that a lot of people don't realize. I mean, you have the legal right to go in and utilize that money for other things, like maybe buying another home.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So that's really good to know. So how do you navigate the complexities of probate closings and estate planning to offer the most cost-effective solutions for your clients? Is it something that's expensive, or what do you do to offset the cost?
Yeah. So right now, I am also a legal independent legal shield representative. So with that, it is a will-based product, and with less than about $1 a day, you can start the will process, and at least you're starting somewhere. Most people are like, well, what about trust? Well, if a trust is suitable for your situation, then that is something to be considered, as well as wills. So you have two vehicles that you can use, and sometimes a will is used in conjunction with the trust as well. But
Mhm.
you have to look at your assets and see which product will best suit you.
Very interesting. Okay, got it. Um, and then what are some of the key benefits of having a well-structured estate plan beyond just asset distribution?
Yeah, so it will definitely preserve your family, you know, the relationship between your family. Um, it will also help the sustainability of your community and your
Mm,
neighborhood as
okay.
well. And it will help preserve affordable housing because right now houses are not affordable.
Ah,
But because
it's
of our
crazy.
elderly, yeah, and because of our elderly, they bought houses where they were much cheaper,
Mhm.
right? Than they are now. Then you
Mhm.
can preserve affordable housing because either you're not paying uh, nothing at all, or if
Mm,
you have the appropriate state plan and you can take over the mortgage, then it's something that is reasonable.
definitely. Comparatively speaking to what we see out there now, your basic home here in Tampa is right around that 350 to 450. I mean, it's really difficult.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. And not being a homeowner of the
Mm,
home that your loved one left behind, you cannot talk to the mortgage company. You can't talk
mm,
to the utility company. You can't qualify for any of the city or counties, home revitalization programs, all because you can't show that document, which is the deed to show ownership.
I
So
will.
yeah, so you're kind of almost like landlocked in a sense,
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's vital to have uh this tool, right, of estate planning to open the gateway
Mm,
to your family and generational wealth. And I'm gonna add this too. I think and this is of my personal opinion, we're here on earth. We do what is required of us from, uh, Bible principles, right? So we're here, we be fruitful, have many, and then we don't do the generational wealth part. We accumulate all these things, houses, cars, all the material things, but to
mhm.
hoard it for yourself, and then you die with the keys to the kingdom and your family
Mm,
suffer. I think there's a real disconnect and kind of selfish because you say you love your
sure.
family, but and you have your death do your part in a marriage, but that's also you're married to your family. So they're entitled to the things that you leave behind, but you
Mm.
have to have the keys to the kingdom. You can't have it buried with you. So
Yeah, some people like to take it with them.
yeah,
Uh,
you can't, you just shouldn't do it.
no, you shouldn't. It can destroy a lot of great things. And unfortunately, a lot of that can actually be dissolved just by administrative fees and things like that, and it's just horrible. I've
Yeah,
dealt with families that have done none, and just the thought, the process that they had to go through. It's horrific. And so for me,
absolutely.
estate planning, in my terms, is just one of the greatest gifts you could give to somebody. And it's not something that, we just can plan out because we're aging, but it's also something that you can do for a birthday gift. You can do it for a marriage gift. You can do it as a closing gift to somebody has just purchased a home, because I'm a realtor, So what is your perfect client? Do you work with, like what would your perfect client look like? I'm just curious.
Well, my perfect client would be I work with realtors, probate realtors, yeah. I
Awesome.
Yep. I also work with estate planning attorneys,
Okay.
legacy planning attorneys, elder law attorneys as well, and even families. Sometime I'll have a family to chime in, and ask which direction should they, go, who should they
Mhm.
see, based off of their scenario, and I'll give a suggestion. because this arena here is so they're so, I'm trying to find a perfect word. They're so fragile, you
Sure.
know. So you just can't have anyone handle them, they're
Mhm.
just that fragile flower. And they're vulnerable, they're ashamed,
Oh.
so you have to handle them with care.
Mhm. Yeah, we do. It's never easy coming out of something that is traumatizing like that. It really, really is. So you guys, I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping, and you are watching the Probate Nurse Podcast, and I'm Melanie, your host. And each week we drop a brand new video on YouTube at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, kind of feature people who are involved in the senior community. In senior transitions, especially, we talk to people who do estate planning. And today's guest is Stephanie Hopkins, and she's a probate title agent. And you can find the probate nurse on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, all social media. So please tune in. We'd love to have you join us as a guest each week, and excuse me, to watch one of our guests each week. So on to the next thing. We have so many questions for you, Stephanie. This is really fascinating. It really, really is. How do you actually approach your clients and make it less intimidating for them to actually talk about this? Because for me, it's really all about normalizing, the death process and just taking care of what we need to do. So how do you make it less threatening to somebody through a conversation, or how do you do
Yeah,
that?
I share my story because at some point in time, we're going to all lose someone. And, even our time is going to come. But I
Mm,
share my story and I make it relatable to them.
sure.
And people can feel your spirit too. So I have a
Yeah.
kind spirit. And
Yes, you do. And a kind smile. And I see you always light up too when we talk about these things that matter the most, and
yes,
that's where your
yes.
joy is.
Yes, absolutely. I
Helping.
love mankind
Mm.
and all, some just need a little bit attention than others, and that's how I get across to individuals. I make a safe space,
Sure.
non-judgmental,
Mhm.
and we're just here to do what it do.
I love it. I love it because people, if they seize up when they even think about it, not my demise, not for me. I'm not going to do that. But you have to. It's
Hmm.
just the rite of life, the rite of passage. We all have to do that, right?
That's right.
Um, yeah, yeah. So you've got two decades in the insurance industry, and how
Yep.
does that experience actually changed your approach to doing probate and estate services? Has that helped you a lot?
Oh, absolutely. So there's always a baseline to everything. So insurance is insurance for the most part. So you, as the consumer, go to an insurance company, you come into an agreement, you pay your premiums, and they will provide coverage under their uh, under their covered events, right? So that's why it's important that when you get a policy to read the fine print, read the things that they don't cover, you
Yeah,
know?
most importantly.
Most importantly, read the things that they don't cover because the devil is in the details.
Mm, isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Yeah, we know about that.
Mhm.
We know about
So,
that. And we're all guilty of it. We sign contracts and we do things that we don't completely understand.
yeah,
And we just, in our haste, we just sign things away. So I get it.
yeah, yeah. So
Um,
with that, and I'll tap a little bit more onto that.
sure.
So on top of that, all insurance companies pretty much they have an underwriter, they have litigation, they have claims. So I've done all those things and I just transferred that skill over to title. Title has litigation, title has claims, you
Yeah.
know, so it's the same baseline, but
Yeah.
just a different product and different clientele. So I have
Hmm.
a lot of transferable skills.
That's awesome. Incredible. Your background is just outstanding. It really, truly is. Um, so as an advocate, obviously, for estate planning for minorities, what are the biggest challenges facing minority communities in this regard, and how do you address them?
Uh, for them, the biggest issue is the sense of urgency
Okay.
of having the estate plan. So there's a statistic out there that says by 2053, African Americans' wealth may dwindle to zero. 2053, we're not too far from that.
We are not far at all. I mean, you're looking at, just like 25, 30 years. That is incredible
Yeah,
statistics. The numbers don't lie, do they? They really
nope.
don't. They really
So with
don't.
that,
Really
yeah,
don't.
so I'm trying to get them to have that sense of urgency of, listen, we're distracted enough, with other things, but just if you love your family enough,
Yeah.
let's have this conversation and let's try to reel in this generational wealth that's just pouring. It's just like a leaking faucet. It's just leaking out. And we're losing, and our family are always having to start back at one. Me, I don't like to start over too much. I know there's some things I do.
Yeah, we don't have time for that.
Yes, we
So
don't have time to
we don't.
start over, have do-overs, so let's just keep it moving.
All right. So looking forward, Stephanie, what are your goals for Blaque Wall Street Title LLC in terms of expanding your impact and reach within the community?
Yeah, so my ultimate goal is for everyone to have an estate plan, to have more generational wealth in the BIPOC community, and to ensure that we can all live an abundant life. We all have that birthright.
We do. We all have the capability as well.
Absolutely, we're given dominion.
Yeah, and honestly, I agree with that. And the people that don't have it, that's what you're made for. You're going to show them how. So I really like that. I really like your goals. It's really, really good. I just remembered the one thing we really didn't talk about was your book that you just launched. So please fill everybody in on that and let them know where they can find that. Get a copy.
Absolutely. So the book is called Money Talks. It's volume 3. It was brought up by the visionary author, Dr. Constance Craig Mason. I was selected as one of the 24 authors in the book from around the globe. So we came collectively, and created a financial literacy book geared towards the BIPOC community, explaining the importance of having a changed mind, the money mindset, how to grow and leverage your money and protect it. So it's an amazing book.
Yeah. It sounds pretty amazing. So where can people find that?
Absolutely. They can go to my website,
Okay.
www.stephanie-hopkins.com, and just click on shop or book, and you can order the book there. And if you have any issues, you can just reach out to me directly and I'll get that book ordered for you.
All right, wonderful. We'll have all of that, hopefully in closed captioning as well as in the description box below for everybody.
Perfect.
So where can everyone find you? Is that your only contact information right there?
Absolutely. The Stephanie-Hopkins.com website is where I can be reached. They can also follow me on Facebook as well as LinkedIn. I welcome connections.
Yeah, you have a wonderful LinkedIn page. And again, I'm going to say it, everybody, please read the bio and learn about Stephanie. She really has a heart of gold and is here to help and assist you with your estate planning needs, your probate title needs. If you're a realtor, an agent, if you are an estate planning attorney, if you are a probate attorney, elder attorney, anybody that fits that description, please reach out to her. She's here to assist you and help you with those needs. And it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invite.
Hey, absolutely. And we'll have you back again with updates. We want to make sure, that we get a little feedback on your community events and how we can be of assistance with you and maybe join you on a couple of those as well. So really looking forward to that. And you're powerful and you're impactful and you're amazing. So thank you so much for being here. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you. All right.
Right, thank you. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you on Thursday at 2 p.m.